Hello there, welcome back to the Agostino Zinga Show with your host, Agostino Zinga, and this should be episode number 833. If it's not 833, I apologize, but it should be 833. Welcome back, my friends. It's been a while. It's been a long time. Hope you're doing good. Hope you're doing fine. What's happening? What's crack-a-lacking? What's happening? What's crack-a-lacking, my people? Hope you're good. Hope you're well. Wherever this podcast and live stream may find you, I hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing splendid. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing splendid. How am I? All things all considered, all good, all things considered. I just recorded a bonus episode of Tazz, which is going to be available on Patreon soon. I'm just kind of exporting it now at the moment. I should be ready probably in about a couple of hours. I've got a random show aimed to be streaming random show probably later on this evening. So I've got a jam-packed day full of stuff to do. Also got to fit in a gym session, you know, constantly moving. That's what I'm doing as I proceed heading into the end of this particular year. I mentioned it previously on Tazz bonus episode, which is on the Patreon, which will be uploading soon. So make sure you're subscribed on there. But I did mention like this, I don't know, man, this year's been a bit crap, man. Not gonna lie. This year's been a bit crap, but it is ending on a bit of a high note for me personally. But I have to say, this might be one of my worst years on record, I think, in the history of my life. But nothing crazy, nothing deep, nothing, you know, over the top, nothing woo-wah-wee. But just in general, looking back, I was thinking, you know what? This has been a bit of a shit year. Not gonna lie, been a bit of a shit year. So I'm actually happy that it's ending. We're already heading into the end of the year. But I'm also happy that my fortunes have somewhat turned around and things are starting to look up again towards the end of the year. But I'm not gonna lie, this year hasn't been the greatest for me. Has not been the greatest in the slightest, and I'm one of those people who don't really feel this way, but this year I'm definitely feeling this way. I can't wait to get this year out of the way. I really can't wait to get this year out of the way and start 2025 on a new leaf, with everything kind of looking a little bit more rosy, with more light, you know, at the end of the tunnel, with more of a silver lining, all of those cliche things in between. That is what I hope for in the next year coming up. So end the year strong as per usual. You know, we're not going to just like sleep our way to the end of the year. We're going to try to end it as strong as we can. But in general, not going to lie, on reflection, this year's been a bit crap. I probably will expand a little bit more on it on the Patreon if you want to learn about more of that sort of stuff. But as this is mostly Tazz and cultural commentary, you don't want to hear about my complaining and I don't want to hear about my moaning. So let's just jump right into the stories. First things first. I haven't been podcasting for a while, haven't been streaming for a while, so I've missed out on a bunch of things. But the one thing that I didn't miss out on, the one thing that I haven't missed out on and I've been really enjoying watching, I'm not going to lie, has been the absolute demolition and teardown and destruction of the one and only Tony the Wolf Hinchcliffe in real time. I've been loving watching everybody wake up to the same realization that most of us comedy podcast fans have always had. Tony Hinchcliffe's a bit of a wanker, isn't it? He's a bit of a wanker. This is why.
A lot going on. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico. Okay.
Oh,
right.
the crowd noise. Okay. The crowd reaction.
Yeah, normally I don't follow the national anthem, everybody.
Yeah, let's blame the national anthem. The crowd reaction. Like he literally slapped a baby on stage. Honestly, you have to replay it just for the crowd reaction alone. They were not pleased. Like, oh, why would you say that? We're Puerto Rican. One more time.
A lot going on. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico. Okay, all right. Okay, we're getting there. Again, normally I don't follow the national anthem, everybody.
You gotta love comedians, and it's always the room, it's always the space, it's always who they're following, the temperature, the platform, blah, blah. Anyway, long story less long. If you don't know what's going on, obviously the election in America is about to conclude, right? The election is happening in November or something. So Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are going head to head, toe for toe, rally for rally, or as Brenda would say, rally for rally, trying to drum up those votes, trying to drum up that support. And they decided, you know, some of them to bring out some celebrity speakers to route, to rally the fucking viewers and to get them more motivated and pumped to get out there and vote. So for this particular rally, Trump bounce rally, they decided to hire the one and only Tony Hinchcliffe, the roast master. Now, personally for me, in my humble opinion, it's pretty weird to hire a roast comic for a rally. Unless, it doesn't make sense really. No? Or I don't know. It doesn't really make sense. Like, if you're going to have a comedian on there, just get him on there to do like jokes, just to run through a set, go through a routine. Like, if anything, you know what would have been actually a better idea? If they would have hired a comedian and just said, hey, think of this as like you performing at the late night show. Like whatever late show that exists, right? If they're still around. Think of it as you getting a slot on the late show. You've got 10 minutes or maybe 8 minutes. Give us some of your best hits. Doesn't matter if it's 20-year-old material, if it's like whatever. Just give us your best hits, 8 minutes or just pure fire, and then bow off gracefully, make America great again, salute the crowd and keep it moving. But they didn't. They let Tony Hinchcliffe go on stage and do what he does, which is roast, do whatever he wants to do. And he completely fell flat on his face. Completely didn't read the room. Completely didn't, did not know what the assignment was. Completely failed. And it's been so glorious to watch because in the last few years, for whatever reason, or maybe mostly because of COVID, I feel like that group of LA comedians have like started to lean a lot more right. But it's mostly because of COVID, I think. Because COVID lockdown closed, a lot of clubs had to close. A lot of hospitality, a lot of kind of, venues in general were the first to close and last to reopen. So a lot of these comedians think it's their God-given right to tell jokes. So without the, and they think, being a comedian is akin to being a nurse or a doctor or something. They think they're an essential worker. So whenever there was a state in this, whenever there was a politician in the States who was maybe against, knocking down the restrictions about clubs and bars opening, they would most likely be Republican or conservative, and they would mostly lean against that side and kind of champion them. And obviously over time, it's become a bit of a troll to be a bit of a Trump fan, unironically. So there's mostly leaning on that side. But most of it is just them kind of fanboying out over Trump because, he's basically a celebrity and it's probably somebody a lot of these guys kind of look up to. So it's been quite funny to watch Tony Hinchcliffe, who's been, not probably, if you watch a lot of Kill Tony and him on pods anyway, he's been sucking Donald Trump's dick for a long time. He's been really angling, for that kind of crowd. Some would say LARPing, cosplaying, grifting for that kind of Republican fan base. The whole Austin, Texas move, wearing the big belt buckles with the cowboy hats and the little down jacket vesting, like the way he, getting into sports. Weirdly enough, it's like, this guy likes sports. Like, okay, whatever. So he's been trying to angle for that love and for that affection. He finally gets seen and recognized by that group of people. I think if we're to believe what Donald Trump said on the Rogan interview, a lot of this is because of Barron Trump. Allegedly, Barron Trump is a big fan of comedy, so he's the one that's tapping his dad into all this sort of shit, and JD Vance. So allegedly, he's the one that hooked up the JD Vance and Theo Von. He's the one that hooked up the Donald Trump and Rogan. Allegedly, people are, it's a meme, whatever. Even if it's not true, he finally gets seen by the Republican Party. He finally gets seen by Trump. He's finally recognized and acknowledged by his hero. Then he gets on stage and he completely shits the bed. I personally like it because this is another example of comedians being unable to just entertain the crowd. Because I don't think this joke is that crazy offensive, but it's just unnecessary. It's not even that bad. It's just unnecessary. Why would you go on stage and go out of your way to denigrate and humiliate and embarrass and insult a large portion of the Republican family, especially, I think that was in New York or something, right? Especially in New York, you'd imagine, a lot of Republicans, you'd imagine a lot of New Yorkers would be of that kind of, maybe Dominican, Puerto Rican, who are probably Trump fans as well. So to go there and do that to them just is super out of order and not needed. And you could have easily gone on stage, I feel like, as a comedian and just gave your best hits and still did a good job. You could have easily gone on there and did like a best hits of like going after liberals, going after snowflakes, going after the LGBTQ plus community, going after Roe v. Wade, going after, whatever woke stuff. You could easily do the hits and get people cheering, get people happy and shit. But instead you go on there and you insult the very people that you're meant to be going on there to kind of, jazz up and get them all hyped and pumped for. And then you have the audacity to blame National Geographic to blame all these other things for why you're flopping and not even just owning the L, you know, just owning it and owning it. No, you don't own it. You blame other people. So I quite like how this is panning out, how everything has gone on. And the coverage around it has been fucking glorious to see everybody in real time realizing that, oh, Rogan's friends aren't actually funny. They're just famous like Rogan. That's it. I like that everybody's realizing it in real time. Rogan's friends aren't funny. They're just really famous. That's it. Look at this report, courtesy of CBS Miami.
Thank you. With 8 days until Election Day, the Trump campaign is facing backlash over crude and racist comments toward Puerto Rico that were made during a rally. CBS News Miami's Yvonne Taylor joins us live from Wynwood with reaction.
Yo, big up Abe Martinez in the stream chat. Yeah, I'm Puerto Rican. Everybody hates Trump, but that pissed them off last night, and all my family called to tell me what he said. Exactly. It's like, bruh, why? Why would you say this? It makes no sense. It felt like so, like, I don't know. It just didn't make any sense. It probably would have made more sense if you would have said that about whoever the migrants that are coming over now and making all the trouble in New York. I don't know if they're from Venezuela. I don't know if they're from Chile. I don't know Chile. I don't know if they're from Peruvian. I don't know if they're from Honduras. But it would have made more sense to just go that way if you wanted to insult people from that part of the world. Just go that way, right? Think of those people who are coming over the border, who people are blaming for taking their jobs and their houses. Point there. Why are you pointing at the Puerto Ricans? What the fuck have they done? What are you saying fuck me for?
To the offensive comments and whether it could impact the Hispanic vote. Yvonne?
And that's the big question, Lauren. Now, I must say that the joke about Puerto Rico was not
Puerto
the only
Rico,
thing that the
love
comedian
it. The roll in the
said at the rally
Puerto
for
Rico.
former President Donald Trump. He also had more to say about other Latinos, too. Take a listen.
Believe it or not, people, I welcome migrants to the United States of America with open arms. And by open arms, I mean like this. It's wild. And these Latinos, they love making babies too. Just know that.
It's offensive, not only to Puerto Ricans, but
What kind of jokes are these jokes? What kind of jokes are these jokes? Honestly. There's never a moment of like, hey, how can I best entertain my audience? As Anthony Jeselnik once said, right, the famous quote on that Fear of One podcast, something along the lines of like, you're not being a funny comedian when you're just offending people for offending people's sake. You're meant to get away with it. That's the funny bit. The funny bit is making a joke that's dicey, but you get away with it. So we all laugh. Not you just laughing on stage at us. We're all meant to laugh together. Oh my God, that was fucking crazy. That was too soon. That was below the belt. But he's fucking funny. He's making a good point. These comedians just sound like they're being like racist, innit? Muy racismo.
to every Latino.
Whether it's arroz con gandules, mofongo, or any other Puerto Rican platter,
Mofongo.
there was an inevitable talk with their meal at this
Bro, look at that plate, bro. Look at that plate. I'm falling asleep. What the fuck is that?
Puerto Rican platter.
Is that for lunch? Are you going to bed after that? Or are you going to work?
There was an
Look at
inevitable
that.
talk with.
Look at that. I'm going to sleep. Oh my God. Look, there's a basket of bread as well. There's a basket of bread, appetizer, little fucking starter, little finger food. And what the fuck is that? A bowl of rice? There's some meat. Is that a schnitzel? Yo, I'm devouring everything on that plate, but I'm not working again. I'm not lifting any heavy machinery. I'm not stacking shelves. I'm not delivering anything. I'm going to sleep. I might sleep on that chair. Oh my God. Look at how delicious that looks. How the fuck did these people eat like this and still work and still exist? I'd be in bed. Wow, I look so good.
Their meal at this establishment in Wynwood.
I don't think this was unexpected.
At El Borinquen, Puerto Rican restaurant in Wynwood, nobody believed that the jokes by...
What the fuck is that with the onions? With the caramelized onions? What is that?
Puerto Rican restaurant in...
Is that like a turkey steak or a chicken steak? What is that? With like the onions diced onto... Oh, give me that baby. With the caramelized onions on top. Are you dumb? Honestly, give me a plate, please. And a large glass of Coca-Cola or something. God damn.
Nobody believed that the jokes by comedian Tony Hinchcliffe at Madison Square Garden on Sunday were not planned.
No smart campaign manager would have allowed this happen without knowing in advance what they were going to say.
I'm very afraid.
Susanna Baxter asked me to sit with her because
Susanna Baxter's a bit of a dimey, innit? Susanna Baxter's a bit of a dimey.
she told me she would say what her community
Abuela would get the abuel.
would not.
I'm a woman. I'm a Puerto Rican woman.
Susanna Baxter.
I was raised in New York City. I know what racism is.
Local Republican politicians also reacted.
This guy's a comedian, not a very funny one, and I think what he said was insulting. But on the other hand, I don't think everything that's said by people supporting a candidate should be directly attributed to the candidate themselves.
Congresswoman Maria Elvira Salazar wrote on X, formerly known as Twitter, "This rhetoric does not reflect GOP values. Puerto Rico sent..."
Oh, look at the comment. Disgusted by @Tony Hinchcliffe's racist comments calling Puerto Rico a floating island of garbage. This rhetoric does not reflect the GOP values. Puerto Rico has sent 48,000 plus soldiers to Vietnam with over 345 Purple Hearts awarded. The bravery deserves respect. Educate yourself. God damn.
48,000 plus soldiers to Vietnam. She ended up saying, "Educate yourself." The message for the
Educate
comedian.
yourself. I love the accent.
And the Trump campaign has said that the jokes made by the comedian had nothing to do with former President Donald Trump. Now, as far...
Bro, Donald Trump has thrown Tony Hinchcliffe under the bus the same way Brian Callen threw Crystal Lee under the bus when it got revealed that he might be a diddler. Honestly, I don't know him. I don't know who the guy is. Never heard of him. The way Donald Trump threw Tony Hinchcliffe under the bus was absolutely fabuloso. And I have to actually get this up here to show you guys what I mean by this, because this legitimately was one of the best throwings under the buses I've ever seen in my entire life. He completely, unequivocally disavowed and distanced himself from Tony Hinchcliffe, despite him knowing who he is, being pals with Rogan. For sure, Trump knows who the guy was, and if it would have went well, he would have been sucking him off. But the moment it went badly, Donald Trump, like a consummate politician, like a consummate professional, decided, you know what? I don't know you. I don't fucking know you. Get away from me now, please. Get away from me now, please. Let me see if I can find it, because that legitimately was one of the funniest things I've seen in a million years. Seeing how quickly Donald Trump disavowed Tony Hinch. Let's see if I can get it up on here. Bear with me 1 second. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. There's the clip here, right here. Look at Donald J. Trump unequivocally, go out of his way to make sure he lets everybody else know that he has no idea who Tony Hinchcliffe is. They are not friends. That's not his boy. What that guy said was what he said. I didn't say that. I don't know this motherfucker. Keep him well away from me. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this.
You were there for the whole thing. I don't know what time you got there. I was told and made aware that you had no idea about this comedian who made comments.
I have no idea who he is. Somebody said there was a comedian that joked about Puerto Rico or something, and I have no idea who he was. Never saw him, never heard of him, and don't want to hear of him. But I have no idea. They put a comedian
ouch,
in,
ouch.
Does. You throw comedians in.
Ouch.
You don't vet them and go crazy. It's nobody's fault.
Ouch.
But somebody said some bad things. Now, what they've done is taken
Don't know who he is. Never met him.
The party has nothing to do with us. Said something, and they try and make a big deal. But I don't know who it is. I don't even know who put him in. And I can't imagine it's a big deal. I've done more for Puerto Rico than any president I think that's ever been president.
Oh, honestly, I fucking love it. I fucking love it. What a beautiful sight to see everybody waking up to the fact that Joe Rogan or Brendan Schaub, Joe Rogan and his friends aren't funny. But one thing I find really interesting as well about this whole backlash has been the refusal of these guys to just put on a good show, like the selfishness, like it's involved in this, because surely at a Trump rally, part of the reason why you're there is to kind of rah-rah the crowd, get them excited, get them hyped, because they're all there because they're fans of Trump anyway, whoever the political person is. So you're just, political candidate or presidential candidate, you're just there to kind of like, get them pumped. make them have a good time, make them smile, make them jump, make them laugh, whatever, or make them cry with some sort of a motivational, moving message. But you're not really there to razz them, to diss them, to like, it's not really that kind of environment. Just go on there and just give them the hits. Start taking the piss out of migrants, or start taking the piss out of LGBTQ folk, woke folk, censorship in general, cancel culture. There's so many easy jokes you could get them laughing at, even at themselves, that don't have to be so racismo coded. But these guys, what you realize with a lot of these guys, these stand-up comedians, especially given all the time, or given the amount of years I've spent following stand-up comedy, the years I've done the stream, random show, and been on the Reddits, all this malarkey, you realize by nature, comedians are quite selfish. They're not really in it for the, like, you think comedians are like service, like they're kind of, you know, they work in the service industry, as in like the customer is always right, as in like they're trying to put on the best show possible for the fans, for the viewers. Nah, all comedians want to get to a point where they can just do what they want to do on stage. They're not really bothered about if you have a good time, if you laugh, if you enjoy the show. They just want to get to a point in their career where they get no notes, they get no advice, they get no input. They're so famous and so well known where they can just do what they want to do on stage, where people, you know, just let them kind of do what they want. A la fucking, you know, Bert Kreischer getting on stage, taking off his top, showing you his, you know, his boxer shorts with like, you know, skid marks on it and shit. They want to get to that stage. They're not really fussed about if you had a good time. Oh, did you like it better than last year? What was your favorite show of mine that I did live? Oh, 2017. How did my show in 2024 compare to 2017? But no, they don't care. They just want to play at the biggest venues, to get the man, to, you know, to sell out the tickets, to make the most amount at the gate, to brag about it on social media, to have that fucking, you know, Jesus pose on the stage, take a big picture in front of a sold out crowd. But they care very little about putting on a good show or making their fans laugh. Very little. This is a good example of it. This is such an easy win for a comedian who likes Trump, who's in that kind of, just go on stage and talk to your quote unquote people. If you're an actual Republican, talk to your people, you know, make a joke about, oh my God, I could be relaxed around here. I don't have to worry about cancel culture. You know, I can say whatever, say some word, you know, and get people laughing without somebody coming on stage and arresting me, you know, I don't know, make some pronoun joke, you know, do something, make some joke about the names that they put on the Starbucks cup, do something funny. Like, it's not that difficult. It really flipping isn't. But again, it's all about them. He wanted to go in there and flex that he's the roast guy, Kill Tony guy, another audition. And weirdly enough, you know, it would be so funny if all of these guys who have been going out of their way to glaze and to really suck up to someone like Trump would go out of their way. And they've now been embraced, by the way, because Trump, you know, kind of needs them in this regard. I think in the first time he would have never embraced them the way that he did, because I think he was way more popular then when he's running for the first term. But now that he kind of needs their support, because people are saying, you know, the polls maybe it's down to a wire, but depends who you listen to. But I'd imagine, you know, based on what happened last time, they don't want to take any chances. They're taking all the help they can get from podcasters and other YouTube channels and whatever else they can get. Understandable. But wouldn't it be funny if the one time the Trump administration, Republicans in general, embraced this quote unquote new media, comedy podcasting type of people who've been sucking them off from far from ages, and now this comedian might actually cost them the election? Could you imagine if that actually happens? If the embrace actually ends up biting them in the ass and these motherfuckers actually end up costing these guys the election? That'd be fucking hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. And actually deserving. But in general, like I said, I'm just happy to see that everybody's now collectively waking up to the fact that these guys, Rogan's friends, they're just not funny. They're not funny. They're famous because Rogan's super famous, and when he puts his arm around you, he's a kingmaker, he's very generous with his platform, he elevates you also. But these guys are probably the first, I would say they're probably the first media content personalities whose fame really does outweigh their actual talent and abilities. Because at least with like TikTok influencers and shit, you don't really expect much from them, right? They're just pretty faces, or they're like cute girls, or like hot dudes. You know, like you don't really expect much from them but apart from what they look like. But with comedians, they have this idea in their head that they're all killers and murderers and they're all beasts and shit. But it's really not. You're not really. You're just friends with Rogan. And Rogan likes you, so he gasses you up and he talks about you all the time on his pod and makes people then believe that you're really good. But when we actually watch your material, when we see you actually do the thing that you say you're a murderer at, we're like, why do you sound so shit? Why do you sound so average? Why does your material don't match your Instagram followers or your clout or your fame? It's really odd. And it might be because most of you guys aren't really that funny. You aren't really that funny, especially outside of their little bubble, right? They're kind of, for lack of a better term, out of their echo chamber, right? Out of their, out of their safe space. They're not really that funny. Really and really not that funny. Well, once they're put in front of regular schmegular people live, they all crumble. I find that absolutely hilarious how the majority of comedians who have gone on those big platforms, live shows in front of regular schmegular civilians who they kind of look down on and think, oh, we've got the best job in the world, and they have to go to all these people that they think that they're better than, and then you're asked to do a set of like what 10 minutes or if that of some of your best material, and you still manage to bomb. Youch. But again, what do I know? Absolutely nothing. So, I've been thinking a little bit about this lady called Gisele Pelicot. I'm sure some of you guys know who I'm talking about. Sorry about that. Gisele Pelicot is the French lady who unfortunately is going to court now because her husband, for many years, had been secretly drugging her so that he could rape her and also his friends. And now it's a big court case in France. She's standing up for, she's obviously standing up for herself. She's giving evidence. She's testifying. She's bringing all of these guys to justice, and everybody's looking at her like a very brave woman that she is, and maybe like a beacon for feminism and just in general for putting the face to women who suffer that type of abuse. Now, the really sad thing about this story is that I've been doing a bit of digging and reading some stuff on French Twitter about the story. And the really heartbreaking thing about it is this conversation around being a perfect victim, which this lady, unfortunately, by all accounts, isn't. So there's a current story or conversation happening on French Twitter where people are saying that this lady, Gisele Pelicot, her daughter actually wrote a book about her experience growing up. And the daughter alleges that the dad was abusive. Now, I don't know if the dad was abusive in terms of sexually, if you're just abusive, like, physically, I don't really know. But allegedly, the daughter had raised a lot of red flags about her dad to her mum. But the mum, in classic, boomer mum fashion, sort of poo-pooed those things to one side, dismissed them, swept them under the rug, probably gaslit the kid to make them think you're thinking it all in your head, blah, 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 blah. Just went to bat for the husband. And then there's also this story that I've read that allegedly her husband, before they married, or even during the time that they were married, had been convicted of rape, or was, or let's say was accused of rape. Let's say convicted, was accused of rape allegedly twice, or something along those kind of lines. Which again is something that I've always been fascinated with. I've said it before on this particular podcast. I've always been fascinated with the fact that whenever I've read stories on this podcast about dudes who are abusive, who maybe R-word people, who sexually harass people and shit, usually when they're going to court, you always see them holding hands with some woman. And I always wonder to myself, wouldn't that be like the red flag of the red? Wouldn't that be wouldn't that be a flag the size of the United States if a guy had been accused of or convicted of the R-word? Even if they were found not guilty, that should make the majority of women, like 99% of women, be like, you know what, you're out. I can't date you. I can't hook up with you. I can't anything with you. That's too much of a red flag. But it seems like in the real world, women actually don't give a F, because I don't think I've seen a high profile R-word, person who has not had a female companion by their side go to court. That's a really sad and interesting part about it. So clearly in the real world, that doesn't really matter as much as people like to say it does on the internet. And then on the back of that, so yeah, she poo-pooed away the abuse claims allegedly by the daughter. There's accusations that the husband had previously had 2 R-word accusations against him. And then the other thing I heard as well is that there's some other accusations about the husband, ex-husband. Allegedly, he was one of those upskirt guys, which I think is obviously is definitely one of those gateway things to very serious types of sexual assault down the line. So allegedly he was convicted, or let's say allegedly convicted, of taking girls' pictures up skirts and shit, right? Which you would imagine is something that people would look at quite seriously. So the sad thing about this story is that even though this lady clearly is a victim of a very abhorrent and horrible crime, it looks like there were loads of red flags before what happened to her, or during the time it was happening to her, that she didn't pay too mind about. And then as soon as it obviously affects her, suddenly, she's been heralded as a perfect victim, and everybody has to kind of focus in on what her issues was, when there was loads of other things that happened prior that she probably could have heeded, that would have, maybe averted some of the things that happened to her. But I think in general, that conversation about the perfect victim isn't necessary, because what if what she says happened to her, then it doesn't really matter, because getting raped by your husband repeatedly and his friends, and it all being filmed, and you being drugged the entire time, is absolutely crazy, really, really fucking crazy. And she still does deserve a lot of credit for basically standing up for herself and bringing these guys to justice, because this is the only way this sort of stuff is going to stop. But we also need to have like honest conversations, around some women out there who, for whatever reason, give a lot of these guys who have clearly a lot of red flags and a lot of skeletons in their closet second, third chances, and they end up going to abuse more and more people. There needs to come a point where, people call out the evil amongst us. I've said it before, many a time on this particular podcast. I personally think that we're never going to rid ourselves of evil. I think evil exists in the world the same way that good exists in the world. So if evil exists in the world, then it's up to us, quote unquote, good people, to call it out. That's the only way you actually rid kind of evil. But you're not ever going to rid evil people from the world. But the way you kind of destroy that sort of thing is by exposing them and bring them to the light. But you can't bring them to the light if you just keep making excuses for them and turning a blind eye, or doing what people usually do, where they're like, oh, he didn't do it to me, so I'm fine. It's like, bruh, if he's got a track record of doing this horrible stuff to other people, then you have to think that eventually you will be next. No? Surely you will be next. But regardless, horrible situation. There's actually an article update about it, courtesy of The Guardian here. It says a soldier, a nurse, a lorry driver, and dozens more. Who are the men accused over rape and assault of Gisele Pelicot? So let's actually read the article here. A total of 51 men are on trial over the alleged attacks of Gisele Pelicot, recruited by her then husband Dominique Pelicot, who has admitted to drugging and raping her. So the husband admitted to it, but the 50 men haven't, because they're saying that they thought that she was into it, that she was consenting. It's like, bruh, like, what kind of defense is this? And I think the most disturbing part about the story is that some of these guys, their wives are actually defending them too, and saying that, yeah, she was into this sort of stuff, it's not their fault. Like, proper victim blaming. Like, the French are on another level when it comes to, conversations around abuse and assault and shit. They are an interesting group of people. I honestly say that. Interesting group of people. So let's continue. The 50 men accused of rape and assault alongside Dominique Pelicot are aged between 26 and 74. They include a nurse, a journalist, a prison warden, a local councillor, a soldier, lorry drivers, and farm workers. They each face up to 20 years in prison. In total, 49 are accused of rape, 1 attempted rape, and 1 of sexual assault. 5 others have been accused of possessing child abuse imagery. So it's not enough that you're raping a woman that's unconscious, you're also holding on to a child. God almighty, it just gets worse and worse. Most lived in the south of France, within 60-kilometer radius of the village Mazan, where the Pelicots live. 6 were previous convictions for domestic violence. 2 were convictions for sexual violence. A total of 23 have criminal record for offences such as drunk driving and possessions of drugs. Yo. Is this like small town shit, or is there any correlation between having any kind of criminal record and sexual assault and the R word? God, that's scary. I'm sure somebody smart out there is plotting this on some sort of graph or inputting it in some sort of Excel sheet, because that is wild. Some of the accused men have admitted to rape, but said that they did not set out with this intention and have apologized in court to Gisele. Okay, you said sorry. That's fine then. No worries. You said sorry. It's okay. You can go home now. Apologize, bro. Sit down in court and get these years, man. A grandmother and former logistics manager have denied the charge of rape, saying that they believe that they were taking part in a game by a couple. Gisele Pelicot, unknowingly sedated and raped by her former husband Dominique Pelicot, 71, who crushed sleeping tablets and anti-anxiety medication into her food and drinks and invited men to rape her over a 9-year period from 2011 to 2020. I would love to hear, just in terms of just interest and curiosity, I would love to hear what like Red Pill France, Red Pill, French Red Pill YouTube had to say about this. I bet you the opinions are toxic as fuck. I would love to hear what some of the pick-me French content creators are saying about this, because I bet they got some very interesting theories behind it, saying shit like she was probably into it, that's a kink, that's a dick. Like I bet you they are saying some wild stuff on that side of social media. I can just imagine. Pelicot has admitted that the charges against him, and said that for almost a decade he was in contact with the men online chat room titled Without Her Knowledge, where he would organize for strangers to come to the couple's home. I am a rapist like the others in this room, Pelicot told the court. The case is being heard by a panel of 5 professional judges in the southern city of Avignon and runs until December. Gisele Pelicot has waived her right for anonymity in order for the trial to be held in public. Shame must change sides. Big up her. So this is the first person, Cyril D54. Trained as a butcher, Cyril is accused of raping Gisele Pelicot in her home in September 2019. Cyril's partner, the mother of his children, was on holiday at the time. He said he was sexually frustrated with his relationship and had gone online chat room to console himself. In court, Cyril admitted to rape, saying that he had realized later that he had not gained Gisele Pelicot's consent, only her husband's. He said Gisele Pelicot was clearly unconscious, but that her husband had been insistent. He said, "I'm sorry, I was naive, a little stupid, an idiot." He told the court, "Women do not belong to men." Gisele Pelicot's lawyer saw video evidence that showed that the alleged rape by Cyril had put her life in danger, as he had risked not being able to breathe. Yo. Cyril D detailed a violent childhood at the hands of his alcohol. Look at the lack of accountability. Honestly, men like this deserve to go to prison just for the lack of accountability. The lack of accountability in this is fucking horrible. In a way, he's almost blaming this rape of this lady on his own wife. He's saying he was sexually frustrated relationship. So he's almost blaming, he's actually blaming the fact that he may have raped this woman on his own wife, who wasn't even there at the time. And then he's also blaming his alcoholic father for beating him up when he was a kid. That's why he was violent with women in general. Bruh, let's have some personal accountability, right? Let's have some self-awareness of our own actions, no? Personal responsibility here. Maybe a smidge, which is kind of hard to say for criminals, right? If you're a criminal, the first thing that you say is, I didn't do it, so maybe that doesn't make sense. Let's continue. Cyril D detailed a violent childhood at the hands of his alcoholic father, who he said would wait outside school with a meat cleaver to attack him and threaten him. All right, now we're being dramatic. Now we're being fucking dramatic. All right. My father was Hitler, he told the court. After the brutal public beatings of his father outside the school, Cyril D was placed in care as a teenager. So he's trying to frame himself as a victim. Like, I was actually a victim. That's why I did what I did. Yo, if they get off on this defense, I'll be flabbergasted. Lionel, 44, a worker of the Pelicot's local supermarket, the Carpentras. Lionel was a married father of 3 when he made contact with Dominique Pelicot. In court, Lionel admitted raping Gisele on December 2nd, 2018 at her home, but he said that he did not intend to commit rape. Huh? I did rape her, but I didn't mean to. Since I had never obtained Miss Pelicot's content, I have no choice but to accept the facts. Turning to Gisele Pelicot, he said, "I'm sorry. I can only imagine the nightmare you lived through, and I'm part of this nightmare. I never told myself I'll rape that woman," but he admitted I am guilty of rape. He added that he should have left what he saw he should have left when he saw that she was unconscious, and that it was cowardly of him not to. Of course. Then how can you say you don't intend? Like, how can you, honestly? I guess there are some dudes who think this way, but you can't smash somebody that's unconscious and then think that you are engaging in some sort of consensual sexual act. That's not how it works. Like, if that person's asleep, they can't consent. Like, surely that isn't something that you need to like hear said that way. Surely you should know that already without being, oh, I didn't go with the intention of, but you're still a rapist, my G. The court heard that Dominique Pelicot had previously brought an unsuspecting Gisele Pelicot shopping at the supermarket so that Lionel R could see if he was attracted to her. Oh my God. Lionel told the court that he had been sexually, of course, everybody is saying the same thing. Everybody was sexually abused. Everybody was in a sexually frustrating relationship. They're blaming their parents. They're blaming their wives and girlfriends. And like, these guys have no shame, man. Absolute definition of cowards. Absolute definition of cowards. Fucking hell. Now you got your hood up and you're turning your back to the camera. Man, face the camera, man. Take your hood off, man. We know what you did. Jax 72. Jacques 72, a former fire officer who had worked as a truck driver and then owned a pizzeria. Jacques had been married for 25 years and had 2 children. All these guys are family men, by the way. Many people say, oh, if you have a wife, if you have a daughter, you wouldn't. Bruh, all of these people most likely have daughters, most likely are married to women, and they still did this heinous shit. Like, there is no, you know, horrible, evil people are horrible, evil people. A dog isn't going to stop them from doing horrible, evil acts. Neither is a daughter, neither is a mother or a wife. Like, that whole narrative people have online is fucking naive as hell. Let's continue. A former fire officer who had worked as a truck driver and then owned a pizzeria. He had been married for 25 years, had 2 children. He told the court he denied rape. He said that he had been naive and that he thought just... How many times have people said the word naive? He thought that Gisele Pelicot would wake up and it was a game by the couple. So if she wakes up, it's okay. So if she wakes up during it, it's okay. But when she... Okay, whatever. Jax admitted to touching Pelicot, but said that there had been no penetration, therefore no rape. Jax told the court that he considered that his religious education had made him a giving person who did good and respected women. Huh? Jesus taught me how to... What? He said he loved women in all their complexity. Yo, French people are interesting bunch, man. I want to see a Love is Blind type of show with French people. I bet you would blow the socks. It will blow some people's brains. The way they view relationships and consent and, you know, the way they talk about gender and sexuality. I'd love to see. I'd love to see it. Interesting group of people. Interesting nation of people. Jean-Pierre, a former lorry driver for an agriculture cooperative in southern France. Jean-Pierre was not accused of raping Gisele Pelicot, but instead he accused of using the same technique to drug and rape his own wife and organizing for Pelicot to rape her with him. What the fuck, bro? These small towns in France, bro. They need to make a documentary about these small towns in France. They're into some absolutely insane shit. The things that they get up to in these small towns. On the surface, they look super idyllic, right? Super, you know, just mesmerizing and beautiful. But the amount of dirty, evil, disgusting things happening under the surface. Described in court as a disciple of Pelicot, he admitted to sedating his own wife, with whom he had 5 children, enlisting Pelicot to rape her. Oh my God. The 2 men made contact in an online chat room called without her knowledge. Pelicot alleged to have provided sedatives to drug the man's wife, explained the method and traveled to rape the woman himself. 2 rapes of Jean-Pierre's wife are alleged to have taken place between 2015 and 2020. Jean-Pierre told the court that he admitted the charges. Pelicot admitted raping Jean-Pierre's wife on several occasions and said he had regretted his actions. He said he had cut contact with the couple after Jean-Pierre's wife woke up during one assault while he was in the bedroom. Court heard how Jean-Pierre's childhood in France, again, Jean-Pierre's childhood in the French countryside was marked by extreme poverty, extreme violence, and he was a victim of sexual abuse from his family. I was raised by pigs in the woods. Oh my God, man. Oh my God. Oh my God. The lack of absolute accountability is absolutely disgusting. My family, my wife did this to me. My cat did this to me. Like, what? Okay, last one. 26. Joan, a soldier for the military in France, is the youngest man on trial at 26. He was 22 at the time of the alleged raping. Oh my God, throw away the key. Throw away the key, man. Bring back capital punishment, please. 22, raping. It's done. You can't rehabilitate someone like that. 22 years old. He's done. He's done. He was 22 when he did that. He's done. He told the court, I'm a rapist because the law says I am. No, because you are, brother. Not because the law says you are, because you are. But he said he had not intended to rape. And at the time, I did not know what the consent was. Oh my God, man. These guys are scary. These guys are scary. At the time, I did not know what consent was. At 22 years of age, you don't know what consent was. He said that he had been invited to the couple's home by Dominique Bilgot for an encounter and did not and was not asked for Gisele Pelicot's consent, saying he learned only in person what consent was. He said that he found it strange that Gisele Pelicot was snoring. You found it strange, but you continued. And said that he knew she was unconscious, but he had not known that that meant she had not consented. In November 2019, Jean was absent for a premature birth of his daughter. On the night, he was accused of raping Gisele. Born in French Guiana, he joined his brother in Avignon when he was 16 before enlisting in the army. The court heard he had lived in the streets as a teenager when 3 brothers had died. He lost his army job when he was arrested. He described as a psychologist as chronic use of alcohol and cannabis and depressive, impulsive, and solitary. The fact that only the husband is admitting to what he done and is pleading guilty and is taking some responsibility for his actions and no one else is, says a lot in it. Only one person of the 51 is actually taking accountability for their actions and owning up to it and saying, you know what? I did really wrong. I fucked up. I deserve whatever punishments coming my way. I'm a horrible person. But the rest of them are making all the excuses under the sun, blaming everybody but themselves. Actually even going as far as saying they're victims. God almighty, man. So love and light and solidarity to Gisele Pelicot. Hopefully she gets the conclusion and result and verdict that she wants. All these guys go away for more than 20 years. Hopefully. But Jesus Christ, what a horrible, scary, sad story. What a horrible, scary, sad story. Moving on, also need to talk about this because I missed this because I've been away for so long. So unlucky for Lil Durk, innit? US rapper Lil Durk arrested over murder for hire plot. I'm sure most of you have heard this news already, but I just wanted to kind of cover it on my side of things. It says police records seen by the US media show the star, real name Durk Devontae Banks, was arrested at Broadwood County, Florida on Thursday night and is being held without bail. The arrest comes a day after 5 people with ties to Banks's hip-hop group Only the Family, OTF, were reported to have been charged in Chicago in connection with a 2002 shooting that killed a cousin of rival rapper Quando Rondo. Lil Durk has had 6 albums on the US Billboard chart, top 5 since 2019, and has also collaborated with top stars like Drake and J. Cole and had hit singles. So this is really sad, you know, because I'm a big Durk fan, big Durkier fan, big Smirkier fan, but also not too surprising. If you're an actual fan of his, you would have known, you know, he's obviously he's probably of that. He really lives that life, right? He really lives his bars. There's no cap in his raps, as some of the kids say. It's just unfortunate because, in a way, this didn't need to happen the way it did, really, if you think about it. If you're a real fan, it didn't have to happen the way it did because this whole place that he's in now in life is the consequence of the death of King Von. The death of King Von happened because King Von, basically, if you really read the tea leaves, kind of got offended that NBA Youngboy didn't really want to, I think, appear in a song of his that then started their beef, which then led to King Von having an issue with Quando Rondo because Quando Rondo was down with the NBA Youngboy, and then which then unfortunately led to that fateful night outside that Atlanta club where Quando tried to rush or beat up Quando Rondo in person, and then obviously Quando Rondo's guy ended up shooting him in retaliation to kind of protect his boy, which any person would have done in that situation. And then of course it all spiraled out to it being the situation it is now. So the real issue is that none of these guys actually have any real issues. It just stems from the death of King Von that all these bodies have dropped, all of these lives have been ruined. And if anything, as much as I love King Von, there's actually a video of King Von that people were sharing recently of his performance. I think like an a cappella performance that's fucking incredible. The storytelling, like, phenomenal. No one comes close to him. Definitely, we didn't get to see him really fulfill his, potential. But King Von's death, man, like, that guy definitely was an evil dude because the amount of people's lives that have been destroyed and changed forever in the wake of his death has been really quite tragic to see. Ever since that guy passed away, ever since that kid passed away, things have never been the same ever again in hip hop for a certain group of people. You know, they've all been negatively affected. You think of even like Asian Doll, she hasn't really been the same ever since. Quando Rondo hasn't been the same guy ever since. He's clearly suffering from some level of PTSD. He's all over the place. You know, Lil Durk has been basically living with a cloud over his head since the death of King Von, because clearly he's been doing shit behind the scenes to kind of even the scoreboards. Which also explains his turn suddenly to be super religious, to put out positive music, to be giving back to the community, all this sort of like stuff to kind of rehabilitate his image. It obviously didn't work. You know, the feds don't, the feds don't buy all that PR and marketing shit. But all of that is, again, an effort to get away from that, you know, shit that happened. And it would have been nice if cooler heads would have prevailed and they would have seen sense, because even at the time, as upsetting as it was being a King Von fan to see or to hear that he died the way he died, once you actually looked at the details, you couldn't actually blame Quando Rondo's team and his camp for doing what they did. Because even watching the video, it looked like King Von's the one that stepped to those guys. He's the one that was the aggressor. And, you know, in those type of situations, in a state where you're allowed to bear arms and shit, you have to know if you go and fight somebody, not everybody wants to fight. Some people are going to want to put an end to it and make sure you can stop hurting them and shit. And if they've got means to do so, they're going to do so. And they did so. And I think everybody should have walked away from that situation, obviously pissed and fucked and annoyed that their friend passed away. But it shouldn't have been a tit for tat. We killed one, you killed one of ours, we killed 10 of yours type of thing. It wasn't like that. They never really had any real street beef. You know, it was always just about hurt feelings, pride, ego. And now, you know, the entire empire has come crumbling down, and basically the main breadwinner of the crew is probably going to go down for a lot of years, if this is led to be true. And the murder for hire plot as well has to do with, if I'm not mistaken, the hit on Quando Rondo that ended up killing his cousin. I think Lil Pub or Lil Pulum, I've got his name. But essentially at the gas station, they were Quando Rondo and his guy were at the gas station, and then they're alleging that Lil Durk's guys pulled up in a car and shot up the car with the hopes of killing Quando Rondo. Unfortunately, they killed his cousin, and that is what kind of, you know, was the reason behind that viral video of Quando Rondo screaming outside of the petrol station, "No, no," as his kind of lifeless cousin's body gets kind of pulled out of the car. It's a really heartbreaking video, to be fair, but again, like, just a weird, sad situation. And then another reason why, you know, the streets are grimy, because if you really look into the details, they're also alleging that there's some sort of like backdoor shit going on, which might explain why Quando Rondo kind of denounced the Crips, because Quando Rondo before was a Crip, and they're alleging that somebody from the Crips who was down with Durk sold him out and basically gave Durk and his crew the drop on this kid. Then he found out, obviously, and obviously denounced the clique. And it's like, bro, like, if I'm down with a set and I go somewhere and I check in, I do everything I'm meant to do, I'm basically getting extorted, right? I'm basically getting extorted, even though I'm not, because I come from my own gang myself, right? Quando Rondo's like a guy that's from the streets as well. He's from a pretty respected set out there in Savannah. But still, you pay your dues, you pay your taxes, you get extorted, so you can have protection, quote unquote, while you're in LA. And then while you're in LA, because this group also happens to have connections with Durk, they sell you out to Durk for money, even though you're down with the set. Like, come on, man. Come on. That's some bullshit. What's the point of checking in? What's the point of being down with a gang, down with a set, if you're just gonna sell me out to the highest bidder? What's the point? You know, I might as well just pay for professional protection. I might as well just hire actual Navy SEALs, you know, actual fucking mercenaries to protect me. Why would I? What's the point of hiring these kind of de facto guys who are like, you know, well known within their hoods, within their scenes, within their sets, when they're actually going to sell me out to the most, maybe to the highest bidder, or maybe to the most famous bidder. If the person's more famous, more clouded up, they'll sell me to him because they want to get his good graces. It's absolutely horrible, man. Absolutely horrendous. But the other side of it that's really sad as well is that allegedly some guy from OTF, I think his name is OTF Jam, they're alleging that that guy was the reason why the whole crew came down, because he was in and out of prison for a while. He did a really long stretch of 12 years. He was OTF's, like, you know, another one of OTF's shooters. And when he came out, they're alleging that there were some promises made to him that weren't kept in terms of money, which again is another short-sightedness in terms of gangs and crews. They're alleging Durk promised some things to some people, but he never followed through. Hey, I'm going to give you a record deal. Hey, I'm going to give you this amount of money. Hey, I'm going to give you this car, this house. But he never followed through properly. So he gave them something, but not what he promised. Like, promised. So a lot of these guys held resentment. So I guess the feds had heard about this too, and they targeted those guys to get to make them turn. And obviously they got the OTF Jam. They're alleging he was one of the guys, and they made the OTF Jam guy wear a wire for 2 years. This guy wore a wire for 2 years. So can you imagine the amount of stuff he has on fucking Durk's crew and Durk himself? 2 years. The main shooter, a guy you'd imagine who'd be in a lot of conversations that, you know, would get people implicated. He wore a wire for 2 years, man. Absolutely crazy. So unfortunate situation. Really is sad for someone like myself who's a big Durk fan. But again, shouldn't be too surprised given the lyrics, given the bars, and again, given the legacy of King Von. It's almost like this is kind of the final chapter of it, final nail in the coffin. But it's a sad situation, you know, regardless. The latest update I've heard is that Durkio is gonna go for not guilty and try to fight the charges in court. Again, I don't know, man. When the feds bring this sort of stuff to court or charge you in general, usually they've got a rock solid case. You know, we all know about their fucking conviction rates and percentages and shit. So let's see how it plays out. But it's not looking good for Durkio. It's not looking good for Durkio. And on top of that, in terms of more rap news, rapper Tekashi 6ix9ine arrested after he's accused of violating condition of his release. They're saying that he was on meth and shit, missing drug examinations, all this malarkey, going away and not checking in and not notifying, which obviously must be hard as well when you're on probation. Like, probation itself is its own prison sentence. Probation might actually be harder to abide by than actually being in prison, because you're outside in the outside world. Finally, you got freedom. So you get a bit lazy, you get a bit lax. So actually keeping to your probation and making sure you don't break it might be really difficult in itself, which is probably why they give you probation in the first place, to keep it on the straight and narrow, because they know it's really hard to do. But let's actually read the article here. It says as follows. Rapper Tekashi 6ix9ine was arrested on Tuesday on suspicion of violating his conditions of supervised release, federal authorities said. Tekashi 6ix9ine, whose real name is Daniel Hernandez, was arrested on a warrant issued by the U.S. South District of New York. Court's records show he was arraigned on Tuesday afternoon and pleaded not guilty, court records say. His lawyer, Lance Lazaro, said in a statement that the rapper was charged with 3 technical violations regarding his supervised release in 2019. So yeah, so and unnecessarily going back into jail for a while because he broke the terms of his probation. But I have read online that allegedly he's going to be in the same prison or the same jail as Diddy, as Sam Bankman-Fried, all going to be in the same place. Pretty wild, isn't it? Imagine that. Imagine all those guys linking up in prison. That's actually a picture that would go maybe kind of viral on social if they all took a picture together. You know, post up on a wall somewhere. Tekashi 6ix9ine, Sam Bankman-Fried, and Diddy. Absolutely wild times. Absolutely wild times. We continue. We've got more disturbing news about Diddy. More disturbing news about Diddy. It doesn't fucking end. Take that, take that. 2 new lawsuits accuse Sean Diddy Combs of sexually assaulting boys. Now, I don't know about you guys, but every day there seems to be a new lawsuit, a new allegation, new something out there about Diddy. I'm getting to a point now where I'm thinking, surely all of these can't be true, right? Or is he this evil? Is he this heinous? Surely they all can't be true. Surely they all can't be legit. But maybe they are. Maybe he was this evil. Maybe he was this bad. That's the reality of it. I don't know, but it's just so many. It doesn't fucking stop. It's like, God damn it, bro. What the hell were you doing? I thought you were just dancing in Harlem shaking and shit and drinking rosé and Ciroc and stuff. Like, were you really on this time? Boys. Little boys. God damn it. 2 lawsuits have been filed against Diddy, accusing the music mogul of sexual assault. Both lawsuits were filed in New York, included accusations, by men who were underage at the time. In one, the alleged victim was 10. The second alleges Combs assaulted a teenage boy who was auditioning for the popular reality TV show Making the Band, which the rapper produced. In a statement to the BBC, representative of Mr. Combs said that they never sexually assaulted or trafficked anyone, man, woman, adult, or minor. More than 24 lawsuits have been filed against Combs in recent months, with allegations including rape, people being drugged, underage assaults, intimidation, and sexual extortion. The rapper is also facing criminal charges in an alleged sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy. He has pleaded not guilty to those charges. The 2 lawsuits filed on Monday were brought by attorney Tony Busby, who has said that he represents more than 100 alleged victims and plans to file dozens of lawsuits against Mr. Combs in the coming weeks. In the first lawsuit, which was filed anonymously, the plaintiff alleges that Mr. Combs assaulted him in 2005 when he was 10 years old, an aspiring actor and rapper. To support their son's ambitions in entertainment, the boy's parents enlisted the help of an industry consultant who suggested to travel to New York for meetings with the music professionals. During the trip, the consultant set up an audition with Mr. Combs, who requested a private meeting with the boy. The lawsuit claims the consultant escorted the boy to Mr. Combs' hotel room where he was left alone. The boy performed several rap songs for Mr. Combs, who told him he had the potential to become a star. Whoever that consultant is in this case needs to be brought up for charges too. Whoever the consultant was needs to be brought up for charges too. Please, for the love of God. According to the complaint, Mr. Combs asked the boy how committed he was to pursuing his dreams. The boy replied that he would do anything. During the meeting, the third person gave the boy a soda that made him feel funny. At the same time, the plaintiff thought the feelings were from happiness over the meeting. The rapper is then accused of disrobing and ordering the boy to perform sex act. God Almighty. God Almighty. When the boy resisted, Mr. Combs allegedly assaulted him. The plaintiff says the complaint says in the complaint that he lost consciousness and woke up in pain with his pants undone. Oh God. Oh God. Oh God. Oh God. Oh God. Mr. Combs told him that if he told anyone, he would hurt his parents. In the second lawsuit, an unnamed male alleges that he was sexually assaulted by Combs in 2008. The plaintiff was 17 when he was auditioning for the MTV reality TV show Mr. Combs produced. During various rounds of the audition process, Mr. Combs allegedly asked the plaintiff how he would handle situations involving sexual pleasure. He and his bodyguards went to force the teen into sexual acts. Mr. Combs currently being held in the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn following September federal charges. He is denied He's been denied bail and remain custody until his trial in May. Yo, if all of this is true, man, like, God Almighty, if all of this is true, and it feels like it must be, like, I don't know, like, will attorneys and shit and lawyers take on cases like this from people without vetting them, without giving them the once over, doing their due diligence, dotting their I's, crossing their T's, right? You don't want to do that, surely. Or maybe you do. Maybe you jump onto the train of lawsuits because you know he's going through a rough time. So even if nothing did happen, you can kind of capitalize and make some money. I don't think so. I think lawyers don't move like that. Do you know what I mean? You've got your own professional reputation is at stake as well. You know what I mean? You're not going to just be filing frivolous lawsuits for the sake of it, especially this high profile of a case. This must be true, man. It must be fucking true. God Almighty. Look at the bravery of one person. The bravery of Cassie. Look at what he's done. Look at Cassie being brave and being willing to open up and admit what happened to her, which I'd imagine was super embarrassing, super scary. You did it, and look at what has happened. Look at the amount of people you've helped maybe get a financial windfall that might help ease some of the pain that they've gone through, psychologically, physically, and everything else in between. Big up Cassie, man. This is all because of Cassie. This is all because of Cassie. That one fucking lawsuit came through from Cassie. Everyone believed it because we know she's been his confidant for like more than 2 decades, for a long time, you know? And then everything else came tumbling down. But Jesus Christ, boy, did he like... Definitely the type of people, you know, people say, oh, you never know what people are like behind the scenes. This is one of them. Because even, you know, there's a lot of people now who are saying, you know, who are doing the whole like Monday morning quarterback thing, or, you know, oh, I always knew. No, you didn't. Shut up. You might have known he was a bit of a playboy. You might have known that he liked to thug, but I don't think anybody had felt this about him. I don't think so. I don't think people are being honest about how they perceived Diddy before, because he was a household name in the same way that Snoop Dogg was a household name, you know, and very beloved. And all of a sudden it gets very dark very quickly. It's super fucking sad to see, but you know, at least the victims are getting some level of justice. They're being heard, they're being acknowledged, they're being seen, and hopefully they can get the justice in the courts, and you know, the guy can be found guilty of all of these type of things, and they can kind of close the book on it and throw the book at this guy, because you'd imagine he's probably going to get, the sentence is going to be fucking crazy. It's going to be football numbers, isn't it? It's going to be football contract numbers, the sentence, in the end. It has to be. Has to be. What a way to end a legacy. Jesus Christus. What a way to end a flipping legacy. Anyway, moving on. So I've not been here for a while, so I want to obviously touch a little bit on Erik ten Hag's departure from United. As some of you guys know, the manager of Erik ten Hag was finally fired from the role as manager, as coach of United. Thank fucking God. It took a long bloody time. I would go as far as saying that the sacking of Erik ten Hag was almost dampened because of how long it took. I think Ineos are definitely on fraud watch, even if the new manager comes in, who I'm going to speak about later. But I think Ineos are definitely on fraud watch. They're definitely moving very fugazi, very slowly. It's given inept. It's given inexperience. It's given maybe the lights are too bright. But I felt like Erik ten Hag should have never been given the new season. He should have went out on a high, winning the FA Cup against Man City. And that would have obviously changed the way he was looked and perceived at the club as a manager. He didn't. He stayed. He got more money, spent it. Maybe some people say he might have wasted it. And instead now we're in a position where he's being fired unceremoniously and being completely pushed out of the club. And he's going away back to Holland with his head hidden from the cameras. He was stuck, you know, he was in, I think there's a picture of him in a cab on the way to the airport, hiding behind the fucking passenger seat and stuff, not wanting to take any pictures, jumping onto the private jet as quickly as possible, getting out of there, feeling super ashamed. And this need to end that way. But I'm happy it has, in disgrace, because he really did break my heart and really did disappoint a lot of fans out there, myself included, with how terrible we played, the gaslighting in the press conferences, the favoritism with certain players, the weird selection process, the weird formation, tactics, everything in between. He deserved to get fired. And in a weird way, I'm very toxic because I really was one of the segment of fans who was kind of hoping he'd stay in the job until the end of the season so that he could suffer with us, because I'm not really somebody who thinks we can still finish in the top four. I think this season's a write-off. Ineos have basically done that. They waited too long to change the manager. It's now been, 15 games in the season. We're basically 3 months into the season. It's too late. The table is what it is. We're not going to go from 14 to top 4. I don't think that's going to happen, personally, for me. So I would have preferred to see Ten Hag actually finish the season and, have us finishing our lowest probably ever league table finish ever in the history of United. Go out in absolute fucking disgrace. That would have been fucking beautiful. He deserved that. But I think the fans couldn't have dealt with it. I think the fans would have blown the gasket. It would have probably, caused a lot of strokes and heart attacks at that stadium. So it's probably for the best that they let him go. And it would have been probably way too toxic in the stadium as well, with the booing and in press conferences and shit. It would have got too crazy. So Ineos had to pull the plug. So I'm happy he's gone. Fuck Erik ten Hag. Hope he doesn't succeed again. Hope his next job he fails even worse than he did at United. Absolute joke thing of a manager. Doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. Inept beyond belief, and real disappointment considering all the great stuff he did in Ajax. He's completely eradicated it with his horrible spell at United. So get fucked, as DSP would say. Get fucked. All right, cool. Continuing on, we've got this new story regarding Ruben Amorim, who is gonna be the new United manager, pending final details. The 39-year-old manager of Sporting Lisbon, who's now been dubbed as the new Jose Mourinho, the new special one. He took Sporting to winning the league. They hadn't won the league in ages. I think before that he was at Braga, and Braga did pretty well. Very young coach, but people are basically saying that he's the guy. Some people are even suggesting that when Pep leaves Man City, people are suggesting that the brass at Man City had Ruben Amorim as one of the number one people they wanted to take over Pep. And because we got Omar Barada, who was formerly at Man City at the club, people are suggesting that Omar Barada's inside knowledge of Man City's kind of potential options, they kind of ran for Ruben Amorim because that's the guy that Man City wanted. So they kind of got in ahead of all the competition. So this is a really big coup for us as a club because he's a very highly rated coach. And it looks like, from how we play, it's going to be a very fresh way of us playing. It's going to be a complete departure of what we've seen under Erik ten Hag, because it looks like he likes to play out from the back, likes to play with 3 at the back, 3-4-3-3, very much possession based, loads of technical players playing, loads of pressing, high octane football. So it's going to be a lot for these players to get used to. Loads of organization, loads of knowing where the teammates are, moving as a unit, loads of teamwork. Like, it's going to be a complete departure for these players who have been getting away with murder under Erik ten Hag. So I'm actually excited to see what he's going to do at the club. I'm excited to see how the players respond. I'm excited to see which players he favors, which players he doesn't favor. I'm also excited to see, because he's going to join the club before the transfer window. So he's going to have a chance to really coach, We're going to get to see him really coaching, trying to improve what's available, not just going and trying to sign a player to solve issues. Like, we have enough players in the squad now to get something out, to get a tune out of them. I don't say we've got the players necessary to finish top 4, because I'm not one of those deluded fans. We're 14th for a reason. I'm a realistic United fan. We're not 14th by fluke. As much as I hate Erik ten Hag, I don't think he was entirely to blame for us being 14th. We're 14th because we deserve to be 14th. I don't think this team is, you know, the one that's going to compete for the league anytime soon, but we're good enough to be in the top 10, at least the top 6, at least. So I think if that's the case, then I want to see what he's going to do with the players available now at the moment. Don't just go and sign a player, improve the ones that we have already. Maybe even change my mind on some players. Like I'm not really the biggest fan of Bruno Fernandes. I'm not the biggest fan of Marcus Rashford. But if this coach comes in and suddenly starts getting fucking Rashford playing like Lamine Yamal and has fucking Bruno Fernandes playing like, I don't know, you know, Vinicius Jr., I'm all for it. I'm all for it, mate. I'm all fucking for it. So I really am curious and really excited for his tenure. I can't wait to see what he does. Let's read the article here, courtesy of Sky Sports News. It says, Sporting believe Ruben Amorim's move to Manchester United is a done deal. Amorim, who's been emerged as a leading candidate to replace Erik ten Hag at Old Trafford, has told Sporting he wants to move to United. Key figures at Man United are in Portugal for negotiations as they continue in Lisbon over the pursuit of Erik ten Hag's successor. Sky Sports News understands the focus of the talks remains on the backroom staff Amorim may want to bring with him to Old Trafford, which I think is also very encouraging. It's almost like he's being very pushy about bringing his own guys. He's not just happy to take the lads who have been here previously with Erik ten Hag or have an ex-pro and ex-former legend as part of his coaching staff. No. I want my own guys. If I can't have my own guys, then it's going to be a problem. I love that that's a sticking point. That means, you know, he's on job. Sporting are defending their interest by making sure Amorim, who has a 30-day notice period on his contract, leaves in the right way after United told them they wanted to pay an 8.3 million release clause. Sporting are asking United to pay 4.5 million to let Amorim leave immediately as compensation for the 3 coaches Amorim wants to take with him to United. The coaches are Carlos Fernandes, Aldilo Candido, and goalkeeping coach Jorge Vital. Now, the funny thing is about this is that this just goes to prove how lucrative managing is, or professional football is, because Erik ten Hag was an unmitigating failure at United, and he got sacked, and allegedly he's still going to get paid out 70 million for being a failure. But, you know, I guess that's money well spent because he was going to not turn things around and he was a terrible coach. But now to get a good coach, we're having to pay 10 mil. That's the really unfair side of the story. For a bad coach, we're having to pay 70 mil to get him out of the door, but we have to pay 50 mil to get 10 mil to get a good coach in. Sporting fans were disappointed to discover that Amorim had a relatively low release clause in his contract for so-called big clubs. The fees believed to be easily affordable for the richest clubs. Sporting want to make sure that they do not just roll over for United, that they do have a holding out for the extra 4.15 mil. Sporting will make life easy for Amorim, and they're expecting him to stay until the end of the season. They believe that they agreed personal terms with United and set the treble his current salary of 2 mil, about 4.15 mil gross. So because we have a good relationship with Sporting, I think it's going to help for sure. We have a good relationship with Sporting, with a long history with them, so I think it's going to ease things over. So I really am eager and excited for his tenure. Really can't wait. Big up Ruben Amorim. Cannot wait to see what we see. And I think the next game for United, which is today actually, in the Carabao Cup, Ruben Nistelrooy is going to be managing for this one game, which I'm also excited. So happy for Ruben Nistelrooy. Really cannot wait for him to get one win under his belt and be able to kind of leave on a high note, you know, start on a high note, leave on a high note as an interim coach at United as well. That's going to be good for him as well going forward. So really, really glad to see that. And obviously, cannot wait. Moving on. Wanted to touch upon some other topics here before I leave you guys. Let's actually go on this particular thing here. Bear with me one secundo. Cannot wait. Okay, cool. There we go. So, wanted to also play these videos because, you know, I'm fascinated with these girls. This Lillian Phillips girl that's been, you know, smashing everybody in however many days. So she now is on her way to do a new record. She wants to do a new challenge. Lillian Phillips wants to do a new challenge where she wants to aim to sleep with over 1,000 men in one day. Yes, you heard that right. 1,000 blokes in one day she wants to go for. So this is the video where she kind of, you know, announces it to people. There's also an interesting detail that it's going to be a ticketed event. It's not free like the last time. It's not, you know, show up with your fucking piece in your hand. This is going to be an event where you're going to have to buy a ticket on Eventbrite, Resident Advisor. I don't know. You're going to have to buy a ticket somewhere to get in. So I'm not sure if that constitutes prostitution. Who knows? But here's a clip of her speaking about her thrilling experience, her thrilling proposition.
Last week I did 101 guys. Now this was just the warm-up, because in February I'm going to be the first person ever to reach 4 digits of guys all in one day. Yes, 1,000 guys. Now this is going to be a ticketed event, so make sure you follow for more details. Good detail there. Good.
Thank you for stressing that, by the way. This is going to be a ticketed event, right? Nothing about health, you know, and sexual health and shit. Nothing about that. Like, let's just make sure this is going to be ticketed. You have to pay for this, okay? The rest of you, the other 100 or so other guys who got this for free, just for the content, right? Just a collab, right? Just as collaboration thing. That's one thing, but now it's going to be ticketed. I just love the fact that I honestly am loving, really am loving the fact that this lady is really annoying guys and girls across the board. She's making guys and girls so uncomfortable. And I love it because people online love to talk about how for they are, how pro sex work and sexual liberation and how open-minded they are with things. But when they're presented with a real freak, when they're presented with a real capital F freak, suddenly everybody gets very, very conservative. They get very clutch. They clutch their pearls. They start sounding like their parents. You know, they sound very narrow-minded, very close-minded. I find it really funny because this is what you say you want. This is what you say you want, right? You say you want sexual liberation. You said you want women, you know, to be able to have the ability to do what guys do, right? There should be no double standards, right? There should be no judging, right? There should be no kink shaming. But here's people on social literally vomiting in their mouth whenever this girl comes online. Whenever people see this girl, people vomit in their mouths. Like, they're so disgusted by her. They don't like her in the slightest. They think she's a disgrace. They absolutely hate her. But it's like, bruh, this is what you wanted. Sexual liberation, right? Freedom, right? Options, right? Here you got it. Oh, there's another video too. If you want to see something extra nice. Extra nice. Here's another video from one of her colleagues. This is Lillian Phillips' colleague talking about some of her experiences. Let's hear her.
I don't want to discriminate. I don't want to just do students. I want to do their dads as well. Oh, so to be fair, I need to give credit to the students. So he gave me this idea. Okay. He came with his dad. And I was like, are you joking? I have to say, when I first saw him with his dad, I thought he's going to come and like tell me off. Okay. No, it was the opposite. He was jealous and wanted to join him. Together? I didn't know if that was too inbred. So I made him go separate. Yeah, his dad was next door in the same apartment. And I did the son first. Okay. Went to see the dad. Yeah. I still had his son's liquids on me.
Who was better, the son or the dad?
The son's penis was bigger. The dad was better.
That's so humbling for the dad.
Yeah.
Did you tell him that? No.
No, too nervous.
Yeah.
I was thinking when they go back for tea time that night with their mum, could be interesting.
Was he still with the mum?
Yeah. But the thing is, like, if she's not going to go down on him, I will do it.
You must do it.
Yo. I love it. I love the destruction. I love how much chaos these girls are causing on the timeline. I fucking love it. I love the chaos. But could you imagine if a guy said this? Could you imagine if a guy said this on a pod? I swear what this girl's saying is like 10 times worse than anything I've heard fucking Andrew Tate say. I swear to God. With the exception of some of the stuff he said about age of consent, right? Dicey. I think the stuff that this girl is proposing or this girl is alleging has happened, where she's, you know, slept with dads and sons and got them involved in some sort of dick measuring. Like, I swear all this stuff is way worse than anything you've heard Andrew Tate say. And just imagine if a dude said this about women. Imagine if a dude said this. If a dude was speaking this openly about, you know, the amount of women that he was smashing and how young they were and all this malarkey. Could you imagine what people would have said? Could you imagine the uproar, the outrage, if someone would have heard her men speak like this on social? God almighty, man. Absolutely crazy. Last one, because I know some of this kind of conversation is making people barf in their mouths. But like I said, I love destruction. I love craziness. I love just psychos. And this is one of them. This is one of them. Pure psycho shit. I fucking love it. I'm not going to lie.
Do the videos do well or do better if they're good looking or if they're a little bit of a minger? Respectfully.
Mingers.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I know your virgin ones do well.
Oh, yeah. I'd say, like, for my pussy, the good looking ones do better because my pussy's like, get them straight in.
Of course.
Sometimes when they don't look as good looking, like, struggle sometimes a little bit, but a bit of spit, I'm all good.
Of course, yeah.
But yeah, the minging ones, I guess, sell better.
Wow. And do you have, like, a little bit of a convo with them when they come in, or do you just straight to it?
Bless them, they're so nervous.
Yeah, I can imagine.
They're holding their ID up, they're shaking, they're trying to sign the consent forms. It's looking like I'm literally holding them like to their will. But I can understand why they'd be nervous.
100%.
They don't know me. They've just queued up for hours on end. All they know is that I'm videoing it and they don't know what to expect.
Yeah, especially I feel like if you're a virgin, that's a very big move.
Honestly, hats off to them.
Yeah.
Because they walk away with so much confidence.
Do they?
Like, honestly, people think I'm joking when I say I'm a community worker, but like they come to me.
You on the tax record.
Exactly.
God almighty, bro. God almighty. To be fair to her, in a way, I can kind of see what she means. If you are somebody that's inexperienced, right? Like losing your virginity to somebody that's a quote unquote sex worker is probably handy, useful, right? Because you get to like speed run through. No, you get to learn from an expert, basically, right? That's probably advantageous and probably will help you further down the line. But God almighty, man, probably not the best way to lose something like that, right? Probably not the best experience. You know, maybe at that age as well, when you're not really too sure about yourself, maybe something you end up regretting down the line, but by that point it's too late. I don't know, man. It's just a wild thing. I also don't like this narrative though that I'm hearing from people, because I have heard some people say, oh, what if these girls say in an interview that they did come from abuse, in a family of abuse, they suffered, whatever it may be. I don't like that narrative because I feel like it kind of takes away agency, and it kind of dismisses the fact that maybe, just maybe, these girls are actually what we deem to be what freaks are, which is freak with a capital F, like I said before. Maybe they're just down for this shit. Maybe they actually enjoy this shit, like for real, and they're not pretending. There's no abuse. They're not trying to overcompensate for something. There's no daddy issues, no insecurities. They just enjoy what they enjoy, and they find willing participants, and they make the most out of it. Maybe that's just the case. It's just interesting to see how unsettling it is for most people, how they watch this sort of stuff and they're like, oof, I cannot do this. This is not for me. I would hate this if it was my daughter. But all this sort of stuff people are throwing out there, it's like, bro, you said you were down for people being free to do what they wanted, sexual liberation, all that malarkey. You say you're a male feminist and shit. This is what it's about, bro. This is what it's about. What it's about is what you're seeing right here. So let's see how it goes. I'm curious to see how that 1,000 guys in one day goes for that girl. I wonder if there's a Guinness Book of Records for it. I'm sure there is a Guinness Book of Records for it, or maybe there isn't because it's an X-rated thing. I don't know, but I would love to know what the record is anyway in general of the amount of people that somebody has let penetrate them. I guess you could kind of speed it up by having it be like a gangbang thing. You don't need to go 1 for 1, I'm guessing, or you could do 2 for 2 if you need be. But I would be curious to know what the actual number is, the highest number, and whether or not this girl can actually do it. Because that last video that she did where she filmed herself post 100 people, she looks really, really ragged. Like she looked like she'd been like spun around the room like 1,000,000 times, and that was only 100 guys. So if she looked like that after 100, God forbid what she'll look like after 1,000, you know? Like she looks tore up. She looked like she'd been in a fight with Ilya Taporia. So let's see what happens to that girl when she does 1,000. I'm fucking curious. I really, really am curious. But oh, it's tough, man. It's tough. My life has been tough. I swear to God, it's been tough. Anyway, moving on. Talking about some more funny stuff. Let's talk about this Angel Reese situation. So I'm not gonna lie, right? I avoided watching this clip for a while on my timeline. I've seen it pop up a few times, and I've actively gone out of my way to avoid watching it because of how cringe it made me feel just by reading the caption. The caption says, Angel Reese got upset with Shaq after he kept fantasizing about her dunking in the tiny shorts she wore at the Wild and Loud event. That headline alone made me very uncomfortable, made me cringe. And, you know, one of the things that I enjoy on social media is cringe content, is public freakouts. But when it's really cringe, I can't even watch it. My body physically can't press play. But for the benefit of the pod and the benefit of entertainment and content, we're going to press play and we're going to see just how cringy and embarrassing and shameful this interaction was between Shaq, Shaquille O'Neal, the legend, and Angel Reese, the young up-and-coming legend, because this kind of proved and showed you kind of, you know, accurately what it's like and how quickly encounters can go from being consensual, chill, and fun to being very awkward very quickly, especially when dudes kind of overstep the mark, don't read the room, misinterpret signals. Anyway, it's all over the place. Let's just watch it and see the clip. This is taken from a clip from Angel Reese's podcast where she sits down with Shaquille O'Neal.
Ability to dunk. Bro, imagine you in
I'm not imagining.
Let me finish. Imagine you in the same little shirt you had on at the Wild and Out show dunking. You know how many t-shirts you gonna sell, cuz? You tripping.
Oh my
what?
God.
What?
Oh God.
The same little shirt you had on.
Okay, all right, all right, all right,
dunking
all right, all right.
Bro.
Oh, yeah. So allegedly, right, according to what I've been able to read online, I don't know much about basketball, but allegedly, this Angel Reese girl actually looks up to Shaq as a player. That's what makes this situation more heartbreaking. She allegedly looks up to him. She maybe models her game after him. She looks at him like as an, you know, as Unc, as a mentor, as an idol, as somebody to kind of follow in the footsteps, athletically, positional wise, whatever it may be. And maybe advice wise, because he's been in the NBA for so long, he's still around now doing his thing, making a bunch of money, whatever. But she sees him like a quote unquote father figure. That's how she sees him. And I'm sure he's aware of that because of how she speaks to him, maybe some DMs she sent to him, advice she's given to him, things that they've spoken about on the phone. That's their relationship. The relationship is basically mostly of that. So it's really wild for him to go on her pod where, you know, you'd imagine she speaks about everything to do with athletics, sports, and everything else in between, and to talk about that sort of shit. When most likely she wants to talk about sports, how to handle your finances, maybe some relationship stuff about, you know, overall relationship advice and what to look for, what to not look for out for. But the last thing she's really guessing would happen in this interaction is that the guy that she sees as a mentor, as an uncle, as a father figure, would in a way go out of his way to, you know, insinuate some things, throw out some very vague innuendos that would make her feel incredibly uncomfortable, to the point where he said imagine and she already got triggered. So obviously she knows whenever this guy says imagine, it's a situation, because that's like, you know, that's like a primary school level Riz. Imagine, right? She's like, nah, we're not gonna be imagining. No more imagining, please relax. So she already knows when this guy says imagine, he's already on fucking demon time. He's already on scumbag time. He's already on X-rated time. He's already on Pornhub time. You know, he's not gonna say anything PG. He's definitely gonna overstep the mark. He's definitely gonna be disgusting. And she couldn't even pull him back. He couldn't even take the hint after she said, nah, please, 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 Unc. Please, Unc. Please, no imagining. He couldn't take the hint. He still had to kind of barrel through. No, but imagine you in those little ass shorts. It's like, God almighty. God almighty. Sir, it's a podcast interview. However early they record that shit at, like, please relax. I'm actually surprised, I'm not going to lie, because there's been various stories about Shaq. Various stories over the years about him. Allegedly, like, going into the DMs of, like, random people's girlfriends and stuff. And trying to hit them up and stuff and try and say shit. Bare stories I've heard online over the years. I'm generally surprised nothing's been said about him or no one said anything about him. Generally surprised. that no one's tried to like go after him and cancel, because so many people have come out and said, oh my God, Shaq's in my girl's DMs, like random dudes, rappers, obviously cool, but just random dudes be like, oh my God, look, take a screenshot of like, you know, Shaq saying hi or something, right? Or doing flame emojis. It's like, bruh, you have to breathe. You have to have a glass of water. You have to relax. You have to take it easy. You just have to. You have to move with some level of subtlety, some level of grace. You have to maybe grow up a little bit. You have to maybe get over this phase of your life and just keep it down and chill. But it seems like Shaq can't help it. Shaq can't help it. Shaq just is turned up. If ever there was a guy who needed a wife to just like take him out of the game, right? If ever there was a guy who needed a wife to take him out of the game so he could hang up his jersey by force, it's him. To have a very public relationship with a very public person that would maybe keep him on the straight and narrow by force. Not, you know, not because he wanted to, but by force, because everybody would be asking, oh my God, where's so-and-so? Where's Mrs. O'Neill? Do you know what I mean? Like, that would be the only way to kind of keep a guy like this on the straight and narrow, because any other way, he's going to be trying to bite. He's going to be trying to attack. He's going to want to hit something. You know what I mean? He's going to want to have a taste. He's going to want to have a sniff and everything else in between. So that's the really sad situation going on there, how she quickly realized, and you even see it in her face. You even see it here in her face in this clip in the beginning. Let me play it one more time. You even see it in her fucking face how she reacts, that she's just so disappointed. You know what I mean? So fucking disappointed. Let's actually play the clip one more time. Come on, play. We're gonna play on that. Let's go. Bear 1 second here. There you go.
Lil Durk, bro. Imagine Lil Durk, bro. Imagine you.
I'm not imagining.
Let me finish. Imagine you in the same little shirt you had on at the Wild and Out show, dunking. You know how many t-shirts you gonna sell, cuz? You tripping.
Oh my
what?
God.
What?
Oh God.
The same little shirt you had on.
Okay. All right.
I'm just saying.
Lil Durk.
Yo, big up Sarlux in the chat as well. There's a lot more to the story because she's actually a bad person and her persona is being sex kitten, but doesn't deserve harassment. If that's what it is, doesn't seem. Nah, I don't think that's an excuse. It doesn't matter. You're allowed to wear whatever you want to wear on your social media. Have somebody look at you like it's like if this person was their child. What? Because she puts out these things on social, that should be talking to you about them in real life. It's not appropriate. I'm allowed to put these things I want to put out on social media. You're my dad. You shouldn't be looking at me that way anyway. You know, if anything, you should be chastising me to put more on. You shouldn't be commenting on my little shorts and what you saw and what you were imagining. You should maybe be looking at it and say, hey, cover yourself up and being like a dad or a father figure in that way, parental figure. But it shouldn't be an object of your imagination, of your lusty thoughts, you know? That's not a defense. Like, the guys saying that are dumb. Don't get me wrong. Is she a little bit insufferable and obnoxious and, you know, just a little bit insufferable with how she acts and talks about certain things? Don't objectify me, and then she's out on shows doing what she's doing. Yes, cool. But there's also judging things on a case-by-case basis without including all the other stuff. And this solely judging this with the context given, with, you know, with them having a relationship where it's more so like of a mentor-mentee type of thing, you know, with her looking to kind of emulate his game and asking him for professional athletic career basketball advice. To go down this route is just weird. It's just weird, man. It just is. There's no excusing it. There's no rationalizing it. There's no making it right. It's just Shaq doing too much, and he needs to chill because he's doing all this stuff with people who are black and brown, who are from the culture, who probably won't do him dirty, right? Angel Reese is not going to come up here and say and accuse Shaq of anything, you know? No one's going to do that. But he needs to be careful because he might meet his match soon. He's doing all this stuff. He's being a lot. He's doing too much, and he might meet his match. Somebody might eventually call his bluff and really get him in trouble. I think that white lady, there was a white girl, right? Some little short white girl who he tried to act like he didn't hit or that he wasn't involved with. And then she basically was quickly got the receipts and posted pictures of herself in his hotel room, pictures of his ID, the bed, some bag he had. Like, it was like, bruh, you were clearly with her and you tried to lie. So it's like, Shaq needs to relax. He needs to chill, take it easy, breathe in through his nose, breathe in out of his mouth, drink a glass of water, maybe get some fresh air, maybe have a quick run around the block. But what he doesn't need to do is ruin his reputation amongst some of these, you know, women basketball players who are coming up, who are looking at him like a a mentor or a guide and stuff, and looking and thinking, hold on, I can't be alone in a room with this guy because he's going to be imagining things, he's going to be saying things, suggesting things. Like, this is too much. So yeah, it's wild, man. It's fucking wild. Imagine you in those tiny ass shorts that you like. He's imagining, like, I even forgot she wore this. Shaq is out here remembering fits that she wore at previous events and bringing them up and stuff. Like, that's some real predator shit. Like, I even forgot this whole thing happened. Like, it happened, saw on the timeline to keep it moving. Shaq remembers her looks based on events that she did and like. I know it was a great outfit, she looked amazing in it, but we need to chill. That's your niece, essentially. He's probably got kids the same age as her, really. I know he's gonna say they're all adults, but he's probably got kids the same age as her. Probably. Maybe younger, or maybe older even. And he's out here first, like, just, I don't know. But again, what do I know? What do I know? What do I know? Moving on. You heard this. Look at this, bro. The new Mac Mini. The new Mac Mini. I want this so fucking bad. So this was debuted, I think today actually, courtesy of Apple. The new Mac Mini actually only starts at $599, which is fucking crazy. I think somebody actually told me in the stream chat, maybe it was a while back on Random Show, to actually look at getting a Mac Mini for my streaming when I was going through my issues with my computers not being able to stream properly. Somebody actually suggested the Mac Mini is actually a better option because you can actually get them relatively cheap secondhand and shit, blah 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 blah, and they actually work pretty well in terms of being an all-in-one sort of computer thing that you can kind of hook up to stream with, do whatever needs to be done, and they obviously come with a lot of memory. But this particular Mac Mini is the new one with the new M4 chip. There's also loads of connectivity and cables involved. I think it's got a couple of USB-C cables at the front, a Thunderbolt cable at the back, loads of USB cables more at the back as well, and you've got all of these type of configurations that you can run it with in terms of gaming, extra hard drive storage. I think the base model, if I'm not mistaken, starts at 16 gigabytes of memory, which is fucking beautiful for 16 for £600, but only comes with 256 SSD. So you can obviously increase the hard drive space by grabbing yourself an external hard drive like a Lacy drive, which I've got a few of, which obviously can obviously increase the size. And of course, if you're using a Mac Mini, you can easily also use an external hard drive, so you don't obviously need to buy the ones with loads of internal hard drive already built in. You've got another configuration here with just a mouse and the keyboard and some Apple AirPods and a monitor. And you've also got another configuration here that obviously shows you a wireless keyboard with a USB key at the front, notepad, the Magic Trackpad as well, and other cables as well listed there. But for $599, honestly, this is a game changer, especially for someone like myself who probably, I don't think I'm going to be, willing to spend the amount of time to save to get a fucking MacBook Pro new one. So a Mac Mini for the time being is definitely something that I'm definitely going to be on the horizon to go and cop, I swear to God. So here's some of the specs here, get the insights, see the all new ultra compact design. As you can see it here, show the files. It's also built in Apple Intelligence as well on the MacBook Mini, sorry, the Mac Mini itself. M4 Pro, next level performance, game-changing graphics, carbon neutral, meet the new carbon neutral Mac Mini, one giant leap for all mankind. Take a closer look. You got some more great pictures of it as well featured. As you can see here, Thunderbolt, power cable, HDMI cable, 3 USB-C cables as well, 2 more in the front, so that makes for 6 USB-C cables there. The bottom of it kind of reminds me of I forgot what the Amazon sort of assistant box thing was. It kind of looks similar to that. The power button at the bottom, very small, very compact, very clean design. It looks fucking beautiful. Looks small, lives large. Big up the Mac Mini. As you can see, all the different access there, the back ports. Looks small, lives large. Introducing the far mightier, way thinner, all new Mac Mini, 5x5 inches, pure power and purpose, redesigned around Apple Silicon to unleash the full speed and capabilities of M4 Pro chips. With a wide array of ports now in the front and back, Mac Mini is a definition of efficiency and the first carbon neutral Mac. As you can see there, looks fucking fantastic. Then you've got also the 2 USB-C connections and a headphone jack at the front, which I love. Prefer them at the front instead of the back. You got HDMI, Infinite, And you've also got 3 Thunderbolt charges at the back as well, which is fucking good. And built to chill. Okay, sorry, the back is Thunderbolt. It wasn't USB-C. Okay, cool. I thought, so these are the back ports. No, that's not the back ports. The back ports is something else. Sorry, that's the 2 headphone jacks, a USB, and this is the back ports is the one I saw previously. This one there, that one. You saw it anyway. That's the back ports, the one with the Ethernet. And of course you got this as well happening, M4 chips, champion chips, and the setup there. So definitely something that I'm looking to go and cop. As a design, looks fucking incredible. Nice square design with a nice matte logo, Apple finish there on the top. Very well done, very well manufactured and designed and shit. Looks absolutely fantastic. Loads of value packed into it, actually. Really fucking cool. Really fucking, and obviously you got the different configurations with different sort of monitors and shit that you can use with it also. So big up Apple on that one, big up Apple on that one. Moving on, we got this particular cable. Really with this cable, we got Megan Thee Stallion is suing entertainment reporter Milagro Grams, who I'm a big fan of. I'm always watching Mob Radio. This is pretty crazy news, alleging that she's spreading false information online on behalf of Tory Lanes. Fucking crazy. If there was a way to like make sure that you people continue talking, because I feel like the whole Tory Lanes Megan thing has kind of died down finally, even though people kind of always bring up Tory's name whenever her name comes up. Kind of, I feel like the rabid conversation and debate and arguments around what happened, the shooting, who shot who didn't shoot who, has kind of died down. You know, Tory's doing his bid, she's obviously succeeding and doing what she's doing with her career, but that's about it. If anything, even when people diss her for her album sales or take the piss out of her rapping or her songs, it almost feels, it's always, from what I've seen anyway on my side of social media, it feels like most of it is directed towards her. It's not like, oh, we're talking bad about you, but also included Tory. No one's really spoken about him, really. I don't feel like, apart from the time when he was releasing those tunes while he was in prison. I feel like the whole debate around that whole thing has kind of died. The drama around this died. So this is a really dumb way to reignite this whole thing and get people talking about it again, because you're essentially alleging that people are lying about what happened, but what they're saying happened sounds like what most people think happened, So let's actually go through what's said here. Courtesy of TMZ, Megan Thee Stallion sues a lawyer for deepfake porn, claims that she's posting Tory Lanes misinformation. Megan Thee Stallion is suing content creator for allegedly promoting falsehoods about claiming she's posting lies on a Tory Lanes case and spreading deepfake porn. The rapper filed a lawsuit against Milagro Elizabeth Cooper, an ex-user with nearly 30k followers, alleging that she routinely posted lies about Megan Thee Stallion while working as a mouthpiece for Lanes to promote a false narrative about the shooting. Now, as a fan of Milagro and as a fan of Mob Radio, it was obvious that she was mostly on the side of Tory. It was also obvious that she was maybe in cahoots or had contact with people from the team who were able to maybe supply her with more information or give a different account of what happened on a particular night. But anything that I saw a report on the stream was mostly her kind of, offering another alternative narrative to what had been disputed in the lawsuit or what had happened, That was basically it. It wasn't her inventing false thing. It was like suggesting alternative narratives, alternative timelines, alternative things that could have occurred, and also corroborating that with some things that people have said previously. So it didn't really seem like it was a targeted thing. It was just people saying, hey, there are some people out there who, it's like the Justice Smollett stuff. Justice Smollett to this day maintains that he did get attacked by some MAGA supporting people who tried to, lynch him while he was going to go buy a sub. But some people think he's lying. I think you're perfectly within your right to think he's lying. He's perfectly within his right to think he's telling the truth and to call you pieces of shit because you don't believe him. But to try to sue people for having a difference of opinion on the things that you went through is pretty wild. These are some of the screenshots taken from Milagro that they're using in the lawsuit. It says, fuck Kelsey too, but Megan was dead ass wrong. Another one says here, someone trolled Kelsey and spoke ill of her deceased father, and that's the trusting, so she took it upon herself to find out what school they went to and called them. This is the same one that claimed that she did Megan's homework, right? Child shouldn't have to be reported her down self. Yeah, well, what are they including this in a lawsuit? What do these tweets say? What's the purpose of this? Among the untrue content posted, according to Meg, is a totally artificial video that Stallion's lawyer claims shows the star engaged in sexual acts. They say the video caused Megan severe emotional distress. How are they alleging that Milagro is the one that made it? How can they prove that? Megan's team says that Milagro also claimed MTS has a severe drinking problem, has questioned her mental competency, and called her an angry black woman. To be fair, a lot of people have said she has a drinking problem. Just highlighting one person that says it, I wonder what is going to happen when they get countersued. Like, you have to prove that you're not an alcoholic. How do you prove that? How do you make sure people know, like, how do you kind of do away with that narrative or that rumor or that suggestion? As it relates to Tory, Megan's lawyers claim that Cooper has promoted false claims about the evidence in the case, including saying the firearm in which Tory shot Megan had gone missing. Megan's team says it's still in the custody of the LAPD. The lawsuit also include posts from Milagro on X, so Milagro allegedly live tweeted from Lanes' trial, falsely claiming Megan's friend Kelsey admitted that she lied to prosecutors when she told them she saw Lanes pull out the gun. Lanes, who ultimately convicted of neglect, disarm of a firearm, assault with a semi-automatic firearm, and carried a loaded unregistered firearm for the shooting, is now serving a 10-year prison. Jesus Christ. It's still crazy that he got 10 years for basically not doing anything. Fucking wild. Megan is suing Milagro for promotion of an altered sexual depiction, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and invasion of privacy. More than anything, Meg just sounds fed up with the blogging world. She tells TMZ it's time to hold bloggers accountable for years of harassment, cyberbullying, and publication of misinformation about my personal and professional life. I've endured countless attacks on my character based on false narratives from social media bloggers representing themselves as journalists. I don't know, man. I feel like this is the wrong move, man. I feel like this is the wrong move. This is a big misstep. A big misstep. This is a big misstep. I think she really is going to end up regretting this. Because there's going to be a portion of social media, a portion of the internet that's never ever going to believe her kind of, her recollection of the events that happened during that fateful night when she allegedly got shot. Some people are going to forgive her. Some people are going to believe her. Some people aren't going to believe her. It just is what it is. It's unfortunate maybe for her. She's upset. It doesn't, it doesn't make her feel good. But to try and sue people who don't believe you, who question your story or your kind of recollection of the events is absolutely insane. Really is insane. Doesn't seem, I don't know. It seems like a very bad tactic. It's going to just it's going to bring more of this to light again. It's going to make people want to go and do more research and find out what happened. It's going to make people want to prove her, to prove her to be a liar that they think she is. Like, it's going to maybe make people double down, triple down on whatever point of view they have of her regardless. Like, maybe this is also evidence that, the career is not going well, because I think if the career was going well, she wouldn't have wasted time with this lawsuit. I don't think so. I think if the career was doing what it was meant to be doing, or if it was living up to the potential that it should have been living up to, I don't think she would have time for this. But because it isn't, sales are not doing well, tour's not doing as great as it should be, she gets all the great, she's one of the most odd cases, isn't it, persons, because it looks like she gets all the best endorsements on all the late shows, all the great collaborations and all this malarkey, but for whatever reason, the music itself doesn't match the level of celebrity she is, which is unfortunate, because if a lot of it has to come off the back of the shooting, you'd imagine, right? Being a victim of a shooting like that is going to propel you to a level of fame that probably your talent hasn't matched yet, especially being a new artist. But this victim shit, man, she should have, I don't know, she should have maybe moved away from this victim thing a long time ago and maybe embraced a new identity and maybe try to turn a new leaf and kind of leave that to the side. Because it feels like she's been still talking. This stuff has never got. It's like, I would have thought Tory Lanes being found guilty and going to prison would have been the line drawn under the sand. Everyone could kind of move on from there, but it doesn't seem to be the case. He's still in prison, and it seems like he's still out. Still the same drama has been caused, same commotion. It's probably going to be worse when he comes out. He's going to want to be talking about his views, showing his opinions. He's not going to want to shut up about it. It's going to drum up the whole thing again and again and again. I don't know. It's been a unmitigating failure for all involved. But I feel like trying to sue bloggers and whatnot for reporting on the story and maybe having a difference of opinion of what happened and shit, and sharing that opinion with people on live streams and whatever, is a very, very slippery slope to go down, and will eventually, I feel like, end up biting her in the ass. Bad move from Megan Thee Stallion. But I get it. On another way, I also get it. If she feels like she's been cyberbullied and harassed for many years, and people have been putting out, false narratives about her online, and she wants to kind of fight back, and this is a time to stand up for yourself and all this rah-rah shit, I get it. but I have a feeling this is gonna definitely bite her in the ass. It's not gonna be a good thing. It's not gonna end well for her. I don't think so. But again, I could be wrong. I really could be wrong. Who flipping knows? Who flipping knows? Moving on. This news courtesy of RA. London's Lido Festival books Arca, DJ Harvey, and John Glacier for a debut edition. Really interesting festival happening, right, in Victoria Park. Now, I have to warn you, those of you who are excited, by me, myself included, seeing the names of DJ Harvey and Arca headlining, Victoria Park festivals are known for their horrendous sound, horrendous volume. Victoria Park is legitimately in the middle of a residential area, houses all around it on either side, on every side of the park. So for the most part, they are limited with how high the volume can go. And from my experience of going to festivals or events in that park, the volume is always shoddy. The sound is shoddy. You have to literally go right to the front to hear anything. So if you are getting excited, get excited, but also know that it's not going to be what you think it's going to be, you know? Like, bear that in mind. Scenery is great. Locally, if you live around the area, it's going to be fantastic to pop in and see those acts performing. You have that type of background. It's going to be good for the socials, but experience-wise, I think it's going to be a bit shit. I can just call it now from the outset. I could be wrong, but that's what I remember from my time going to festivals in Victoria Park. So let's read the blurb. A new London festival has announced a new name for the debut edition. Taking place at Victoria Park across 2 weekends, Lido Festival has booked Arca, DJ Harvey, John Glacier, Sampha, Romy from XX, Panda Bear, Jamie XX, Wookie, DJ Gigola, Shy One, and Liv Wu-Tang. That's a weird lineup of names, isn't it? That's the most random names for a festival in London I've ever heard in my entire life. What is the reason behind booking these people? Arca, DJ, like, have you ever seen a lineup with DJ Harvey and Jamie XX? Huh? Like, what? I feel like I've seen maybe a lineup that has Sampha, Romy, Panda Bear, and Jamie XX, maybe. But Wookie, Arca, huh? Really? Okay. Lido has been launched by AEG Presents, a global entertainment brand that already responsible for a handful of UK festivals, including All Points Eats Forward, Country to Country, to replace Field Day. This is going to replace Field Day. What a weird lineup. So there's not going to be any bands or anything, just those people. Huh? It replaces Field Day, a long-standing Victoria Park festival that announced its migration to South London's Brockwell Park early this year. So Field Day is no more. This is in the place of Field Day's dates. I've got a feeling AEG Presents are probably tied in with some sort of booking agency that represents all of these artists, and more than likely these artists don't have anything in their calendar for June, so they just make up a festival and they book those artists who don't have bookings yet for June in this festival. And if something changes, they can obviously fill other people in, but that's what they do. I've got a feeling. I don't think this is like somebody making a festival. This is like an agency, a management company, whatever they are, a global entertainment brand who's in cahoots with a booking agency, who has people on the list, on their, you know, artist roster who haven't got bookings yet. Hey, here's people that you can put on this, and you just put them on there. Because this feels so random. This makes no sense. No sense whatsoever. I don't get it in the slightest. Like, what the fuck are these people on one lineup? John Glacier, Arca, Sampha, Romy, Pat. Like, who? So random. Like, wow. Okay. Interesting name. Interesting lineup of names. But yeah, big up Lido. Let's see what happens when it does pop off in June. Promoting raves or festivals in June, in November, or October, sorry. Kind of depressing, but hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. A really good initiative here, courtesy of RA. Soup Manchester debuts new campaign aimed at next generation of promoters. Pretty good. Applications for the scheme, which invites young area promoters to present proposals for Soup's Thursday night program, closed November 20th. Manchester club Soup is fielding applications for a new program aimed at nurturing the next generation of promoters in the city. A collaborative effort with Absolute, the campaign invites young promoters in the area to present proposals for potential Thursday night programming at Soup. Through the scheme, Soup hopes to expand its weeknight lineups while catering to a wider community of regular visitors. Applications closed on November 20th. Before throwing events with Soup, the only relative experience we had was between hosting university flat parties, said David Abeji, who debuted his club night Coma Oto last year at Soup. Our vision for a club night were ambitious yet raw, but the help of Soup, we were able to grow quickly into the role of local promoter, being generously taught the necessary steps and ethics to host a successful night. See the announcement and apply for the program below. Pretty cool, so definitely make sure you get involved in that one. I love the idea of having a program or a competition for kids to do events on a Thursday. I feel like that's also a really good test of your promotion or programming abilities, because usually Thursday nights are not the most busiest nights. People tend not to go out, so you actually have to try to kind of, you know, put together an event that would make people want to leave their houses, their flats, their dorms on a Thursday to go and rave at. The best way to do that is obviously probably nurturing young up and coming talent and shit, and getting them to kind of do some bits out there. So I think this is a really cool idea, a really fucking cool idea, and I think it's definitely gonna work to bolster the local scene and get kids out there and get them fucking pumped for some of the new people who are playing as well. So I like it. I really fucking like it. I think this is a good way to do things. I wish there was more of this with more clubs. I think a lot of clubs tend to just not bother even opening on Thursdays. But I remember back in the day when I used to rave a lot, the midweek events were usually some of the best ones. Usually because a lot of the weekend warriors weren't about. You got to really kind of enjoy yourself in that regard. So I think that's a really good way to go about doing things. So big up them for doing so. Big up them for doing so. And that is it for now. That has been it for now. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Excellence English episode number, what was it, 834, I think, right? 833. Thanks so much for tuning in. Been a pleasure, never a chore. If it's your first time tuning into the show, make sure you like the stream down below. Like it with the button down below. My tune today, for those of you listening to the audio side of the pod, will be Daniel Cesar. I think that's my tune today. I think it's Daniel Cesar. It should be Daniel Cesar. Yeah, it is. Daniel Cesar, CYANIDE. If you listen via the audio side of the pod, timestamps will be added later. For those of you listening as well, watching live via the live stream, the random show will be happening later on tonight. So about 11 o'clock my time for random show. Come back around then for that. That should be a good one. Loads of stuff to get into that I've missed out on over the last couple of days and shit. So be prepared for that. Will be an extra long one for those of you who want to watch comedy-based content and whatnot in a couple of hours. So big up everybody for tuning in. Appreciate all of you for hanging in there. Merci beaucoup. And we'll see you guys again very, very soon. Take care. Be safe, everybody. Peace.